What's up guys, I'm Nick. How would you like to learn how to grow your own fruits and vegetables at home, organically for less? Now this system right here is an aquaponics system, and we'll teach you how to learn to grow yours at home right now. Check it out. What's up guys, I'm Nick from Boom's Farm and welcome to our YouTube channel. We're going to be talking today about how to set up your own aquaponics system at home. Now some of the advantages of this is that you're able to grow your own fruits and veggies without outside synthetic fertilizer. We can do it all organic. Now we're using tilapia, which is a freshwater fish, which a lot of people actually like to eat at home, so you can even harvest it, right? Now the advantage here is you literally just fill a tank like this that you can get for $100 on Craigslist. Literally fill it with tilapia, water, and add a water pump and some irrigation fittings. Recirculate that water through the top, which is a media container. We're going to use hydrocorn, expanded clay pebbles, and then you plant your plants in the top, and then they just grow. You got natural sunlight, it's all organic, and if you guys have any pest issues, just make sure you're using organic natural sprays. Now this system is recirculating and constantly providing water, so you don't have to worry about watering when you're away. It works on its own, and if you have a decent growing season, you can usually grow from early spring all the way to late summer. Now during the winter months, I actually do heat this tank so the tilapia stay at nice 75 to 80 degrees, which is what you also want to do. As you can see, we have some support systems over here. We're going to have our air pump, right? And our water heater so I can monitor the temperature. These little electronics do need to be level or above the water level so that you don't have any electrical hazards. So I'm going to go through some of the details on adding air, moving the water, and actually growing the plants. So stay tuned guys. Okay guys, now we're going to continue to talk about setting up your own aquaponics tank at home. So right now I don't have the tank running. I do have the tilapia in the tank, and I have it filled up to about 175 gallons. Now the water that I'm using is tap water, and I do use a conditioner to get it somewhat safe for the fish, essentially to start off with. Now this tank water did come, about a third of it, from my previous location that I used in a 55-gallon drum to truck over here and literally fill it up. So for you starting off, you do want to get some tap water, maybe cycle for about a day or two before you get your fish so that the chlorine will evaporate out. Now again, you'll need a water pump, which is what's hooked up below here, and this plumbing system is just PVC 3/4 inch piping, and as you can see I put different fittings like a 90-degree elbow to help it recirculate over and over. Now right now I have it rigged so it just recirculates into the bottom tank until I get the media here in the top tank. Now as you can see down here, I have this little valve that I could turn on and off. That's leading to my Venturi, which actually is a manifold system that intakes air with water shooting through. And what that does is it adds more dissolved oxygen to that line. And if you can see a little bit in here, there's an elbow that dumps down. So it's just recirculating, adding more air to the water. The fish do like a lot of air. And again, you don't see any air in the tank right now, but I'll demo it right now by plugging it in so you can check it out. Now, as you can see over here, I have my air pump, and I actually have all my electronics, and they're above the water level, which is smart thinking for electrical hazards. Now as you can see, I turn it on and it immediately recirculates the pump. Now you can see the water is flowing in the top portion as well as the bottom down here. You may or may not be able to see, and I can increase the flow on one versus the other. And once I finish the Venturi, which I'll show a different clip on here, a little more in detailed setup of this whole manifold, you'll be able to see what it'll look like with the actual air intake properly done. So for now, I just turn this back and I adjust the airflow to help keep a nice flow and bulk. Now as I have this circulating, you can also hear that there's the air pump running up top, And I've actually got the heater set up too. And now the fish tilapia that I'm using do like a little bit warmer temperature, and they prefer it around 75 to even 80 degrees. It's June and it's 6:30 p.m. right now, and it's 84 degrees out. So our ambient water temperature is a little bit warmer than most for this time of year, but around the cold time of year in winter, we do have to have that heater on to make sure that the fish are happy. So that's something to suggest. As you can see up here, we have a thermostat. It says 77 degrees, which is a good temperature for them to be at. And that allows the monitoring of the temperature day and night. And then when the heater does need to kick on, it tells it when it goes below a certain temperature. So as you guys can see, the water is coming up and circulating back down right here and creating that aeration. But this water flow will eventually be going up top and then be recirculating down. So this line set right here, which the Venturi eventually will be right here, sucking air in and injecting it. And as you can see, it comes out here at the bottom. So this both right here and over here, as a waterfall effect, is adding aeration to the tank. So now we're going to talk about the bell siphon. So this actually is a protective sleeve around the overflow that the water eventually will be pumped into here from right here. And as it fills up, it's going to reach this overfill point and flow down the bottom. So as you can see right here, we actually have basically a bulkhead type of fitting where that 1-inch piece is hooked up to this pipe right here. Now, depending on how high you want your media, you need to measure along these lines. This essentially, you can see where my media has been. How high do you want the water to flow? Usually you want about 1 inch, no more than 2 inches of media at the top without water flooding it. Essentially, that allows for a drier zone, so you're not going to have rot issues or algae growing from the sunlight. Now, this is the bell siphon, which actually you can see in here has the own tubing right here, and this 2-inch has been cut to help allow water from the inside flow through and go up and in, which will allow it to overflow inside. Now, the concept of this shield, as you can see, has lines cut in it from a saw. That this piece goes over it as a shroud to protect any of the balls from the hydrocorn trying to get in and overflowing into here. Those balls will clog this and slow your flow, or it goes back down to the tank, and the fish tank just creates a mess. So what you can see here is I also screwed in a couple screws to help support the middle from moving around, because I've actually had this float and lift up. And the concept here is that this, when I screw down, these fine points will help hold nice and snug. So that's not gonna flow up or move around. So the next step is I have to fill in the media, and then we can get the water flowing. Okay, so now we're at the part where we're gonna add our media. Now, part of the media is not going to be soil, right? A lot of you guys that have grown before use some sort of soil, maybe cocoa, soilless, or compost. And in this system, it's more like hydroponics, where we're going to essentially be moving water constantly, and that water flow doesn't need to be oversaturating the media. When you oversaturate soil, it has a tendency to rot out. And too much water can be bad for the roots if you don't have a media that actually provides enough air and water flow to drain. So one of the favorite medias is going to be hydro corn. This is just expanded clay pebbles. Now these little pebbles, some of them float, which is also why I talked about in my bell siphon that I had it locked down so it doesn't float and go back into the bottom tank. But I do like these essentially as a media because it holds the roots, allows plants to grow nice and tall, and gives a home for red wiggler worms, which we'll talk about here shortly. But we want to create a bed that water can flow through And these are very lightweight and porous. They hold a lot of air, very little nutrients, and very little water retention. So it just allows water to flow through, and we'll pump this 24/7. That's actually how you'll supercharge your growing and get a faster grow cycle and yield. So right now what we're doing is we're going to be adding this bucket below me of hydrocorn clay pebbles. Now when you buy this from the store, as you guys can see here, it's going to be a little bit red in color. Now when you get this brand new in a bag, you need to pre-rinse this. So when you get it, it has a red kind of clay dust on it. You don't want to be putting that into your system and then adding water into it right away, because that red dust will come off and go into your tank. So I've already pre-rinsed this. Took me yesterday some time to do it, and I'm going to add it to the top here. Now what else I've also done is underneath where my bell siphon is right here, is I've actually hooked up a connection for my hose. So what I can do is actually pump in tap water up here to clean and rinse another round of these once I have all the media filled, and I can give it another rinse and not have that water going down into my main tank, which obviously, you know, if it's gonna be dirty, it's gonna affect the fish. So right now it's a little green and a little algae bloom from the heat recently, but after I get these in there, the media acts as a filter, and this biofilter, the water flows through, and it's going to be grabbing all those solids, the fish poop, right, the waste, the gunk that turns the tank a brownish color. But that's also the nutrients, the nitrogen, nitrates, right, that are going to be converted by the bacteria that's in here, and it's going to be feeding your plants. So essentially when you put your plants in here, your lettuce, your peppers or whatnot, it's going to be getting nitrogen rich from fish poop essentially. So that recirculating system is closed loop, and that's one of the advantages of doing this system at home. So as I set this up to show you guys how simple it is, we're going to go through the steps, and I'll be discussing it so that you guys can do it as well. So why don't we go ahead and start, and I'll start filling this. It's going to take a little bit of time, but you'll see the next step. Okay, so now we added our media. So all this hydrocorn essentially is going to get flushed through again, and I'm going to be adding not water from here, but we're going to add tap water, and I'm going to be draining it through the bottom. So this bell siphon's been installed. We're going to add just tap water. It's going to fill up and overflow, but this overflow has been connected to actually a drain. So now that everything's good, we're gonna go ahead and plug in the pump and get this recirculating. Just turn on the electronics and voila. So now we've turned on our recirculating system, and it's coming from the bottom into the top. And as you can see, the water is pouring straight down onto our media, flooding here and evacuating out our bell siphon back here. So what I'm going to be doing is adding this scouring pad. Essentially it's going to be a filter as a secondary. Literally just put it right here, and it's going to act as a water filter. It's going to come through and grab any of the solids that the pump is pumping up, and every week I just clean it out and it's fine. So this helps break down some of the particles that are coming through so it won't clog up this bed too much. Nice little trick for you guys to use. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us, guys. Don't forget to add your plants of choice and watch them grow. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe. Stay tuned for more.